Hello everyone, my name is Mitz, and here back with Phoenix Wright Conflict of Interest. We are now on to the final trial day, and Miss Keys, admittedly, in the last few moments of investigating the roof, has made her so suspicious. And with the fuse box, which Obade should have actually found if he investigated up there, god damn it, you say Phoenix's job was just some weird miracle, obviously forgery. Look what you doing for your job. So there's a power system on the fuse box that gets rid of all the power into the building, yet it's in the very top rooftop floor. So literally, somehow, someone had to make it up there and plant a device. And Miss Keys has all the records about the security cameras, so she can delete things and can maybe get by security cameras. So either she's the accomplice, or literally she's Sir Galante. And no, it's either or at this point. She's too suspicious now. She made a good show of pretending not to know a single thing when testifying about the moment of the crime, but oh boy. I mean, she ghosted me my date. Like, I definitely didn't want to go, but still. Yeah. Are you ready, Nick? No! Just about. We learned a lot of new things yesterday. Things that bring a completely new meaning to everything. Oh, careful today. We don't want to reveal the police force working with the Rivali's family. Oh yeah, that too. Don't worry, I'll be careful how to handle that. Water's still gonna fucking hate her guts, though. The police would never be able to recover from a scandal like that. Speaking of the Mafia, where is Mr. Parker? Well, he's parked outside in his car, don't you know? He should have been here a while ago. They're looking for the defendant, he's in the prosecutor's lobby. Oh god, don't confess, please. He's being prepped for his testimony. What new would he have to say? So Prosecutor Williamson is going to have him testify today, huh? I guess so. Do you think he really killed him? No, I don't believe that he killed Rivales because of green space rock. Everyone knows that thing is infallible, right? Not Mr. Rivales, Miss Keys' father. Well, I mean, didn't we ask him point blank if he killed someone? Like he was a hitman or something like that? And I don't know, I can't remember the exact wording of how he worded it, but it didn't seem like he killed anyone. He was just there when it happened, and Miss Keys just put it all on him. There's no question in my mind. The man you're defending is a monster. He's evil. If he did, I'm not sure there's much we can do about it. The statute of limitations has already passed. You mean statute of litigations? How can you do something like that? Maybe you shouldn't defend him anymore. We're this far deep in. I couldn't get it to him after coming this far. And anyways, apart from Mr. Parker, Detective Waters is currently the top suspect. So you're saying we should leave him high and dry? That wouldn't work because do you even know what his last name is? Water makes everything wet. I'm not getting to that debate right now. That's right. If I were to start defending Mr. Parker now, somebody else would take over. And I can't guarantee that they'd be pushing for a happy ending for Waters. Allow to us then. Let's do this. My affair! Oh god, I love my old-time references. Today I'm gonna have not one person to prove innocent, but two. That's quite a tall order. Hopefully I can pull it off. It's mostly just, I guess, finding who the new Galante is, especially yeah. We don't even know, there's really no evidence pointing to who that is right now, so all we can really do is just make some weird guesstimation or something. Which definitely is probably gonna come to play the jury system unless some new definitive evidence comes out. The tutorials are just meant to play up the whole jury system. Court is in session. Mr. Williamson, it is to my knowledge that you wish to have defendant testify today. If what we discovered yesterday is true, then there's a good chance this man saw Detective Waters enter the crime scene. That goes completely against the prosecution's claims the defendant was the killer, though. That's irrelevant. Okay, then. As prosecutor, I must find the true culprit. If that happens to be a man I've worked with, so be it. The truth is absolute. Oh, well, you did a whole complete 180 from last time. There are now two suspects in the case. One of them did it. That just means that they both tried to incriminate the other as the culprit then. You can't trust either of them. What's that, Wright? You don't think we can trust your client? You think he's a liar? Well, that's not exactly what I meant. Do you think it would be a mistake to put him on the stand? Well, I mean, yes, exactly, because he's standing. He should be parked right into his seat. No, of course not. It's a dirty trick, Williamson. Mr. Wright, what is your opinion on this? My opinion is I don't have opinions. I have to trust Mr. Parker. I have to believe that he isn't going to lie just to get off the hook. Defense will allow Mr. Parker to testify. Very well, proceed. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Wayne Parker, I'm an ex-mafia enforcer. I worked as one of Mr. Valley's top men. A filthy occupation. Please don't say that. Your poor choice of career is not what matters here, though. You're here because you witnessed something very important. That's right, sir. I saw him. Oh, no. I saw this detective go into the crime scene. He looked scared out of his wits. Can you tell us more about this? I can do that. Oh boy, how's this gonna go? Leaving the penthouse. The penthouse suite. I passed by the detective as I was leaving the room. He went about the same time I went out. I knew that Mr. Valles had been expecting somebody, so I wasn't too concerned at the time. It wasn't until later that I found out he'd been killed. Oh, let's try and concise. This testimony is fine for Mr. Parker, but it makes Waters look even worse than before. Witness, was the victim dead when you left? No, sir. So he had to have been killed after then. The Detective Waters fellow was looking more and more guilty. Like any testimony, this must be thoroughly examined to make sure there are no contradictions. Okay, where's your snarkiness to Phoenix now? Yes, I suppose so. Begin your examination, Mr. Wright? Oh, no snark this time, Obadia. Okay, fine. Fine. So I passed by the detective as I was leaving the room. Yeah? Like, literally just a second you left, like, crossed the threshold of double doors. Are you sure it was Detective Waters? He's that other guy who testified yesterday, right? One who arrested me? Now, someone else. Yes. Yeah, that's the one. How were you able to tell? Huh? Oh, well, I saw his face, I guess. Rats. Mice. Wait, he saw his face? Oh, it wasn't their power outage. He went up at the same time I went out. When was that? It was sometime during the blackout. When you showed up around 5:30, your meeting only lasted for a few minutes. That would mean that the blackout had just barely started when you left. That sounds about right. I didn't stick around for very long after that. Where did you go next? Home. I was really upset about how my meeting with Mr. Valles had ended. He means how Mr. Valles wouldn't let him quit. He wouldn't get a raise. This man can't seem to get a break in life, can he? I knew that Mr. Valles had been expecting somebody, so I wasn't too concerned at the time. Yeah, so just out with a frying pan and with another one, huh? You knew he was coming? Not the detective specifically, but Mr. Valles had mentioned having a meeting with someone that day. Just basically, didn't want to talk to you anymore. Like, I got other meetings, more people to meet. Shoot. Yeah. Were the receptionists unknown too? Sarah? Well, yeah. It was her job to know stuff like that. So Miss Keys knew that Waters was supposed to meet with the victim. Sus. That means that nobody had to do any sneaking around that morning. This changes everything. Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Nick? We're thinking tacos later tonight, right? Probably. There's only one reason why she would neglect to mention that she knew Waters was there. Because she's protecting him? It wasn't until later that I found out he had been killed. Was he dressed normally when you passed him? Yes. Then how do you explain the photo taken by Cody Hackins? The same explanation used yesterday can still be used now, albeit with a different person. The one about how he entered the room twice, once from the hallway and once from the roof? That one. Well, Mr. Wright, do you have a problem with this theory? Yes, Your Honor. Okay, there's no choice. The problem is with the victim, the killer, the witness. The victim, the killer, the witness. Okay, well, the victim is like... Okay, if we're going off of this testimony, then literally I'm, basically, Parker said that Ravalli is suspecting someone else, and if the blackmail letter's anything to go by, then that proves without a doubt it's that. The killer, the whole, like, they just bring up the whole debacle about the whole iron suit, whether they brought it long enough on the rooftop just to glide down into the room, and the witness has to be like Sarah Keys and all that. Like, how did she see anyone else going in? Let's go with that. The witness, Wayne Parker. Oh, I thought you were talking about Sarah Keys. What? What exactly is the issue with him? He's obviously just lying to cover for himself. Oh boy, this is going great. You're an idiot. Wait. Is the defense suggesting that their client is committing perjury? Yes, exactly what I'm saying. What's that for? God, thank you. What do you think that was for? You're gonna get Mr. Parker convicted if you keep that up. Sorry. Don't do it again. Okay, okay, I won't. Hey, do you think that Mr. Parker is lying to us? What? Slap twice. Don't say that he's lying because we'll get him convicted that way. Hey, Nick, do you think he's lying to us? I don't think so. I think you're just mistaken. I certainly hope so, at least. That means there's still a contradiction in there somewhere. Okay, so Sarah Keys is out of the picture for this whole thing. Oh my. Okay. So it has to be either the victim or the killer then. Well, I'm a bit at a loss on what that is. The victim, the killer. I guess either bring up some other aspect of how Sir Galante had to get his, Oh, there is the fuse box, too. We get more evidence about how that happened, so maybe that. Like before, you aren't the one being accused here, Mr. Parker. Yesterday, the theory rested on the assumption that you were able to smuggle in the armor over the course of several days. This wouldn't be possible just at Waters. Ooh, what do you mean? If he didn't work in the tower, he would be immediately noticed. I doubt the family would have enjoyed the presence of such a fine, upstanding detective as him. Flattery get you nowhere. I'm being serious here. There's no way he would have been able to sneak anything in over a period of several days. Because of security cameras? Please tell me that's right, because, yeah. Yeah, it's a large sprawling network of security cameras and alarms guard the Riley's tower. They watch over every room except the penthouse at the top. So that means the elevator too, the stairwell. Okay, please? I would have blown a gasket if that wasn't it. As we all know, blackouts are a rather rare thing. They don't exactly happen every day, unless you cause them yourself with whiteout. Do you see where I'm going with this? That means that any other day, the security system would have been fully functional. My client went there every day and would not look out of place. His Waters in their hand would attract a lot of unwanted attention. You're just straddling the line of who is the killer between these two suspects, so yeah. He couldn't sneak himself in there, much less a suit of armor. What? That's right. And I don't think that I need to remind you that the defendant just testified that Waters was not wearing the armor when he saw him. If that's the case, then how did it show up in this picture? Does it really matter? It's there either way. Well, I mean, we've got to figure out if it's teleporting armor, you know? It's important. Somebody managed to smuggle into that building. Well, Mr. Wright, who did it? Maureen Parker, third person. Well, it's obviously a third person, Mr. Person. It had to have been a third person. What? Somebody besides the defendant and detective was in the penthouse? Don't ask me to name them because I don't know. I don't have the evidence to prove it was them anyway. Even if I do know. That would mean that there was a third person. Thank you for reiterating what I just said, Your Honor. Wow, thank you. That's what I just said. Shush you, I said that first. Do you know who this other person was? Yes? Tell us. No idea. Well, that doesn't help us at all, does it? Maybe it doesn't. I think I have something that will. You do? Show us. Both Detective Waters and Mr. Parker were in custody yesterday. In that time, something happened which neither of them could have done. Somebody tried to remove something. Remove? My throw saw we represent the mark of the red skull, but try to remove something. That's... Huh. What was this thing that somebody tried to remove? Somebody tried to remove. Wait, is it literally the mark, actually? Is it literally the mark? Because, like, some boxes are removed? Isn't that it? Okay. Well, was there really anything, like, showing off, like, the mark was being removed? Like, I don't think there was any cleaning supplies or anything nearby. This. Ah! What is that? This, Your Honor, is something that we've all been searching for these past few days. That's Galante's symbol. Where'd you find that? In the abandoned building across the street from the Rally's Tower. It had already been erased when I arrived. I was able to find it using luminol. I'm missing a bottle of that at the crime scene. Did you... No? We don't need to get into the specifics of how I found it. The point I'm trying to make here is that the scene had been tampered with only recently. Neither Waters nor Parker could have done it. Then who did? The person who put it there. Sir Galante, with a fabulous blue cloak. He tried to remove the skull to throw us off his trail. This mark proves that Sir Galante is the culprit? That doesn't help us. We need to know who he actually is. Or she. You don't know. I don't think anybody can tell you that. We've run a rather thorough investigation, but haven't found anything. Mr. Parker, would you mind telling us about the family's investigation of Sir Galante? Of course, Mr. Wright. I'll tell you what I know. Okay. We basically know the police's side of the thing, but obviously the Rivales are going to have something completely different in terms of how they're going to investigate. Yeah. Mr. Rivales has been running his own investigation on Sir Galante. And with all our resources pulled together, we weren't able to find him. Whoever he is, that guy knows what he's doing. Okay, nice. This sounds an awful lot like the investigation the police have been conducting. They haven't had much luck either. Well, actually... maybe I should just start the cross-examination. Shush your mouth, you. Okay, you don't have to get so excited about it. I'm always excited, hyperactive. Remember, Nick, you have to be careful here. Mr. Parker might tell everybody about the deal the police had with our Valley's family. And we didn't give a briefing about this. God damn it. Thanks. I'll remember that. Phoenix, remember that. Branch decision point. Okay, mod connections. Been running his own investigation, Sir Galante. Like he's been bribing people to like search around all private investigator style. No luck on that? None. He's like a ghost. Ooh, spooky ghost. Not a single piece of solid evidence. From somebody who has been tampering with the crime scenes. That's always a possibility. However, it's just as likely that the criminal is simply a very intelligent person. You need to either be very smart or very lucky to evade capture for that long. For like, over 3 years, I think it was? It's a whole lot more than just lucky. He knows how to recover his tracks. He's definitely not incompetent, I'll tell you that. Mr. Parker, did your boss ever talk with you about the investigation? All the time. He told me almost everything. Aw, you're in with the big kids now. And as one of the family's top enforcers, I knew all about the investigation. This is new. He didn't tell me about this before. Mr. Parker, could you update your testimony with this information? You got it, Mr. Wright. I knew just about all the info we'd gathered. You had access to everything they found? Not everything. Mr. Hollis kept some of it pretty secret. I can kind of understand that, actually. He didn't trust you with it? He didn't trust anybody. It's like boss of the year to me. Get him a trophy. How much did you actually know? Most of it, which wasn't much. It was enough to know that we weren't getting anywhere. It became clear pretty fast that we weren't ever going to find him. Not alone, at least. What do you mean by alone? We had to find another group to help us. It was... it wasn't a criminal gang, wasn't it? Well, no, it was... We don't need to know who else was involved. But you said it couldn't be a criminal gang. Why is that? I say, Williamson. Actually, there were too many organized criminal groups left for us to join with. That was the problem. That's a problem? For us, it was. The Katakis and Kadavrinis were gone. Kadavrinis, in the grave. The Katakis, running a pastry shop. They're doing well off right now. Before we might have considered joining with them, not form an alliance. That's a scary thought. That lets us alone with nobody else to turn to. Do you think things would have worked out differently if the other two groups still existed? The investigation had already been in progress for 2 years before Big Wind's Kataki decided to go clean. I doubt it made any difference. Maybe not. I'd like to hear more about this if you don't mind. Me too. Please update your testimony. Even with all our research pulled together, we weren't able to find him. So far it's not. We're just getting reiterations like they couldn't find anything, even with like how much power they had. It's pretty much what Detective Waters mentioned in the, like before. Who were you combining resources with? Why are you doing it like this? Penalty, Nick! My God, Jesus! You aren't the judge. You can't give penalties. She can give slaps instead, though. Well, that was a really dumb question, Nick. You already know the answer to it, and we don't want to be answered. She's right. Maybe I shouldn't have pressed that. Well, witness, please answer him. When you say that you were pulling resources, who was it with? Well, you see, it was with the I changed my mind. Let's change the subject. Was there a reason for that outburst, Mr. Wright? I'm hyperactive. No, Your Honor, I just think we need to get back on track is all. Well, okay, if you insist. Whoever he is, that guy knows what he's doing. Are you even sure that Sir Galante is a he? No. Then why would you use that word? Because saying they would be grammatically incorrect, and I don't think that he's a she. Grammatically incorrect? What? You can debate the finer points of grammar later. Grammar sucks. Just say that, say that to make it sound right. Not follow stupid rules, okay? Say it like how you like it to say it. I know I speak grammatically incorrect all the times. All y'all, yins, they be the boys, the girls, I don't know. It's other stuff, I don't know. I prefer if we got back to testimony at hand. Well, I mean, the shoes in their foot then, if you know what I'm thinking. To kill the cadaver means we've really been on edge of a cliff? Top of a building? Something like that must have been pretty scary for you. Yeah, you never had an idea who was going to be next. Were you ever worried about yourself? Was I ever worried? Okay, you just gave him a PTSD attack. Never mind, I think I already know the answer to that. The death of Bruto Cadaverini created a power vacuum. Oh. Microvalues is opportunistic enough to take advantage of it. But remember, he's still been around. Mr. Values could have called for an alliance. We never got that chance. This is tricky ground we're walking on here. If I ask the wrong thing, I might get into a conversation that could harm the police department's reputation. I wonder what else we can learn from Mr. Parker. He doesn't seem to know any more than Waters or Williamson do. I guess in that we've already heard everything that there is to know. There has to be something in here that contradicts the truth, though. I'm running his own investigation through Galante, so we pretty much pressed everything, and I don't think there's any choices, so we literally have to presented it. I knew just about all the info we'd gathered. Okay. With our research piled together, we weren't able to find him. Yeah, isn't like the Galante case file even mention? Like they couldn't find a single person? Like no known suspects? Yeah, there are no known suspects. The victims are generally withheld from public and passed off as separate cases. Do we have anything that proves, like, I guess, what a Microvalue's thinking on his side of finding Sir Galante? Maybe? Oh, I know you're holding back. If you don't want anybody to know the big secret to my place Saturday at 6 a.m., come alone, we'll discuss things further then. So basically, they, Microvalues thought, well, I think Waters brought this up that, yeah. Microvalues thought they had police some more dirt on who the culprit was, and called him over with blackmail to, basically force the information out of him. I think that's it? Yeah, I know you're holding back. It doesn't prove, the Values knew anything about it, though. Whoever he is, that guy knows what he's doing. And plus, I just realized we shouldn't even present that because I'm, yeah. Whoever he's doing, the guy knows what he's doing. After killing the Cadaverines, we've really been on edge. Wait. No, they didn't. Did he kill the Cadaverinis, though? Several killers, criminals throughout the city. All identified victims have had connections with their Valley's crime syndicate. Okay, that part's wrong. Yeah. I was thinking that was weird. Just listening to it again. It was all Revali's this. I mean, Revali's are pretty important. Mr. Parker, would you take a look at this file? Take a look at this file. Where? The front cover. in every single page. Right here on this page, God. 1 second. 2, 3, quattro, cinco. Okay, 5. 5. Page 5. I'll rip it up and paper airplane to you. You can clearly see that it says all the identified victims have had connections with the Rivali's crime syndicate. But we're not crime syndicate, we're just crime. Bruno Cadaverini was hardly a member of that group. In fact, he was one of your main rivals. Do you get it? Sir Galante didn't kill the Cadaverinis, so the Rivales killed the Rivali rivals. But that's not what I was told. I don't know who did it, but police apparently have reason to believe that it was someone else. Go a bit easier on your client, right? You didn't know. You recall what I told you yesterday? Galante has achieved quite a lot of fame among the more impressionable. There have been several attempts to copy his work. Almost failed horribly. The police have had to keep a close eye on who we talked to about the case. Trying to keep the details classified so that we can tell the fake Galantes from the real one. What Mr. Parker just said, that was one of the things that we managed to keep a secret. Even from the Valley's family. That means I never realized that they were Galante's sole target. Huh. Rivales himself was aware. He agreed to keep it a secret. Huh. Oh my gosh, that makes a lot of sense. And actually, okay, that's actually good thinking, actually, in your part. Please don't throw up right now. Why would he do that? I don't know, and don't just speculation from an unrelated topic. Sir Galante did not murder the Cadaverinis. That's all you need to be concerned with. Okay. Rivali's family never realized that Sir Galante was specifically targeting them. Oh, I thought they were gonna say, like, oh, Sir Galante definitely was targeting people, but, huh. And then Micro Rivales himself knew. So literally, if, like, for some reason or other, Sir Galante has a grudge against the Rivales only for some reason. And, well, we do know Sarah Keys as a big motive, so let's play into her. And if she's not, then at least it gives her a reason to help out the real Sir Galante, so, huh. Well, Micro Rivales himself knew. But then, if what we just discovered has only been known to the police force, then somebody out there knows too much. Somebody. I'd like to call in a new witness. In circumstances, I'd say that this person has a lot of explaining to do. Huh? It's been a bit for me. So, like, who are we talking about? I don't think I noticed anything weird with Cody at the time, though. I don't remember anyone saying anything weird. I don't think. Tricia's barely part of this case. Oh, obviously it was Pearl, even though she's gone missing. It was someone else. We could, I'm trying to think. If it's talking about, like, someone, like, apparently just pointed it out that that the Rivali should only know about, like, Galante was targeting only them or something like that. The only thing I think of, well, I can't remember if anyone said outright, like, that Sir Galante attacked other people. I can't remember that. And my only thoughts is, like, some people we haven't really talked to in depth with, I guess, almost too much, which is either Sarah or... Huh. Virgil? I guess. I don't think you mentioned anything about that, though. At the top of my head, it's been quite a while. And I'm being serious, like, it's been a while, and I don't remember exactly if he ever mentioned anything about that. I know he went on a big spiel about, how, Sir Galante was, well, I think in his words, like, he was technically a scumbag in some way, shape, or form. but also just like was very worried about Parker. I don't remember at all if he mentioned if Sir Galante like attacked anyone other besides your valets, because wait, if I don't remember anything about like if I don't remember a single thing that he mentioned about Sir Galante attacking anyone else, wouldn't that be a thing? Well, even then, I don't even remember if, like, if Cody Hackins even actually mentioned about, like, if they were the sole person. And I don't think we're gonna bring him in again. At this point, I can't think of, like, I guess the right way to go. So, let's give him a shot. If it's right, then good for me. If wrong, well... Oh, really? You haven't been there, Mr. Parker, but over the past few days, I've spoken to your friend, Virgil Black. Virgil? What is it to do with this? I believe they know a bit too much about the serial killer. Of course not. He has some sort of vendetta against the Rivali's family. He's trying to kill them all. Oh. Oh. I only remember the parts where he basically just brought them up. He was worried about Parker being into the crossfires of him, Sir Galante. Oh shit! And later, that Sir Galante guy isn't gonna stop until he gets every last one of those Rivali's people. The comments seemed innocent at the time, but with what Mr. Williamson had just told us, I'm starting to find it very suspicious. The defense demands testimony from Virgil Black. And, with that, would be a good place to leave us off. So, if Virgil is Sir Galante, then... I'm trying to think. Well, I mean, the top of my head, he does technically have a motive, I guess, of what, like, back and forth, what little we know about him, Parker really wants to get out of the business, and he's being blackmailed to be staying in, and his best friend, who literally, I think, oh yeah, he did mention that Parker literally helps him pay rent and all that, and he does not have a job, so, he has a lot of free time to, be killing people. Even though all the crimes happen in the early morning, so, huh. So if he is Sir Galante, and he's literally killing every single valets just to, like, help save his best friend, that would be quite an extreme way to get him out, but if, like, the blackmail is true, and if Sarah isn't Sir Galante, whether or not because of that... Oh, and the police even caught on of, like, well, security camera of them, her making a phone call. So, well, then afterwards, she could have messed with the security camera, so it's either, it's Virgil or Sarah Keys one way or another. And either way, Sarah Keys is definitely involved in it, whether accomplice or not. So I guess we'll figure out how deep, Oh, that's another thing. Virgil could, he could have just heard straight out from Parker if that was the case, too. Wait, no, Parker just mentioned that. Oh, my. Oh, my. Huh. Well, that's definitely suspicious. I guess we'll figure out how he basically knew about that if he's not Sir Galante, which since we haven't seen him too much, suspicious. But we'll figure out if he's Sir Galante or not next time. So, what a fun time to watch as I am playing this. Hope you see me next time, for the time may be, and I'll hope you have a fantastic day.